Jags. We'll get into these Jags. Been an interesting 30, 32, and 31 as far as covering all these teams. We're still not done. We got 4 more days of this before we get into, obviously, the preseason. College football 25 has been fun. We got Madden 25 coming out as well. We're also going to be having a giveaway for 2 copies of Madden 25, so make sure you guys do subscribe for that. Also, click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a stream. And, we got the question in the poll today. Which team out of these 3 do you think are going to have the better season between the Chargers, the Dolphins, and, of course, the Jags? So let's get into it. Quick shout out to the Wrench Gang. Quick shout out to the family, all the listeners, all the watchers. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Let's start this off with Miami, the Miami Dolphins. So, Tua Tagovailoa, has definitely had his ups and downs. We obviously know the injury that happened. He bounced back, led Miami to the playoffs. Obviously, they did lose. But to be honest, I do think that this is still a team that is not only considered a challenger, but a team that can probably pull this thing together and truly make another run at it. Considering the fight that they've been able to put up in the AFC East. But we're going to go ahead and get into it, and we'll talk about these Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so first off, let's go ahead and get into the stats. Right, so let's start at the stats here. Tagovailoa had 4,624 yards. Mostert had 1,012 yards. Tyreek Hill, 1,799 yards. As far as your tackles, Long had 113, and then Ramsey had 3 interceptions. As far as the rushing yards here, A-Chain had 800 yards. Average was 7.8. His Long was 76. He had 8 touchdowns. Mostert had 18. Absolutely amazing on the rushing. But then getting over to the receiving, Tyreek Hill, he had 1,799 yards. He had 119 receptions on 171 targets. His average was 15.1, which is absolutely insane. 13 touchdowns, and his Long was 78. Waddle followed that up with 72 of 104. He had 1,014 yards, 14.1 in the average, 4 touchdowns. Long was 60. Smythe got involved, obviously. Wilson, Berrios, all these guys definitely contributed and helped out Miami for sure. I think the biggest thing of looking at this team and what they've been able to bring as far as in the AFC East is not only a challenge, but a true contender when it comes down to whether or not this team would have the ability to make a playoff run. And I do think that they can. One of the biggest gripes I think that I have with Miami right now is whether or not Tua Tagovailoa is mentally over his injury. We understand that he is physically over it, but I think mentally he may have not been over it last year. I think he was able to potentially get over that hump. Obviously, we know the contract situation, so that's going to be a good emphasis on what he's able to do next season. But I do think next year he's going to feel more comfortable. He's going to be okay with maybe taking a hit or two and not, playing as, worried or concerned about getting hit or ending up in the same kind of situation as before. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the schedule for Miami. Week 1, they're going to be starting off against the Jags. And I do think week 1, this is going to be huge because you have, obviously, Trevor Lawrence coming off of the injury. He's got basically a couple different assets on his team now that are new that could be beneficial. Miami really didn't have to make too many changes. I mean, they do have, their core offense. They did make some changes as far as defense goes because I think they needed to. But for the most part, I do think the advantage would most likely go to Miami in this game. Now, that's not to say that the Jags aren't going to put up a fight because they will. The problem is Trevor Lawrence. He is hit or miss. He's either really on or he's off. There's almost no in between. So to be honest, you got Jags obviously going to Miami. this could be, the start of a strong season for Miami. And this could be a statement game as well, without a doubt. So I could definitely see Miami taking this one by a touchdown, so I'll rock with them there. Week two, they'll be going against Bills Mafia, going against the Bills. This is going to be a Thursday night game on Amazon Prime. The Bills obviously having, their own issues defensively last year and, chemistry issues with Stephon Diggs and all that kind of stuff. We know that Gabriel Davis is gone. We know that Diggs is gone, and they've now got Keon Coleman. They got Bishop. Claypool now, a lot of different individuals who could potentially perform for these Bills. So that may be a little challenging for, the Miami defense, which the Bills have had Miami's number for the most part. But coming into this, I mean, the real question is whether or not Josh Allen is going to have the chemistry with these receivers coming into this next season. And also whether or not this defense is going to be up to par with the new defensive coordinator and whether or not he's going to actually be able to game plan better than what Sean McDermott would coming into this next season. So, unfortunately, I do think that is kind of going to go against them because right now Miami has the chemistry. Right now Miami understands their team and they know exactly who they are. And going against a divisional rival, you want to have everything clicking. You don't want these kind of issues and these kind of problems, especially so early in the season, which we know the Bills have trouble with AFC East rivals in the beginning of the season. We've seen it last year. We've seen it years and years before. But to me, though, it's a 50-50 for me because we see the best of the best come out in these games as far as the heart between both sides, whether it's the Patriots, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Bills or the Dolphins. We always see this happen in these divisional games. So I'm going to go 50-50 here, but I will give the edge to Miami just because they have their chemistry already. They're already set as a team. You know what you're going to get. And unfortunately, with the Bills, you don't right now. After that, they'll get into Seattle. So they'll head out to Seattle. Seattle, to me, I want to say that they're an okay team that's trying to get better this year. But coming into this season, I mean, it's a huge question mark on this team. They do have some talent over there, but I think I will have to give the edge to Miami on this one. But I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a close game because Seattle definitely has a great defense. They come out strong and they surprise you sometimes. Crazy stuff happens. Metcalf gets going, Carbonet gets going, JSN gets going. There's a lot of variables that Miami may run into a roadblock in. And that's where Seattle can, pull an upset and really surprise people. But on paper, Miami should win this game. Next after that, it's going to be the Tennessee Titans, ladies and gentlemen. So the Titans, right? Will Levis and company. What's going on there? It's going to be, I think a learning experience for Will Levis. We did see him play last season, but this will be the first time he's coming into a full season of his own. And, how that's going to translate into week 4. Obviously, you want him to have a strong start. And I think, he's going to be finding his footing this year. He's going to be understanding as far as how to lead this team and build the chemistry that he needs to. And he'll probably have some significant moments that'll give him the character that he needs to getting into the season. With that said, this could be one of those games where everyone's sitting there like, well, what the hell's going on? Because Miami can't get it together. Neither can the Titans. And it just goes down to the wire and Miami breaks with Tyreek Hill and wins the game. So I will give, Miami a 7-point win there. But it's questionable. It's questionable because the Titans are a question mark and you just don't know what you're really going to get from this team with all the changes as well. So there's a lot there. There's a lot there with the Titans that I don't truly want to write them off because they have an okay team. Next after that's the Patriots. We know, the head coaching change. Bill Belichick is gone. quarterback issues and who they're going to go with. I'm not sure that Zappy is the guy. It's a lot going on with New England. It's bad. It's really bad. Once again, AFC East divisional game, but I am rocking with Miami on this one just because it's the Patriots. It's Patriots. Y'all got to prove me wrong. Y'all got to show me something. Show me something. After that's week 6. Miami have a week 6, which is their bye. After that, it's going to be the Colts. Anthony Richardson coming back off of his injury. We did a lot of talking about the Colts and this team and what they're capable of. We know that they played decent. They did fairly well. My biggest thing was whether or not Anthony Richardson was going to come into next season and be ready mentally. We understand that you've moved past the injury physically, but can you overcome it mentally? And if he can, I think that the Colts will be a problem. And this could be a real test in week 7 with a strong matchup against Miami. So I'm going to go 50-50 here because I have a good feeling about the Colts team, but Miami's got their weapons, so I'm going to go 50-50 on that one. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray. Right, you got Marvin Harrison. What are you going to do? Is he going to change things? Is he going to become the quarterback that the Cardinals fans and this organization need him to be? Is he going to drop the Xbox controller? Is he going to read that playbook? Is he going to study the defenses? Is he going to do what he needs to do and get this this squad going? So yeah, with this one, I do think with the surprises and Kyler Murray and what he may bring to the table, this could be, a dogfight between these Cardinals and the Dolphins. So I'm going to give the edge to the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray is going to change things around this season. And, I'm not going to write him off. I could be completely wrong, and we're looking at things a little different come week 3, week 4. But I think next year he's going to change some things around. And if he doesn't, well, hey, he'll probably be a free agent playing Call of Duty, making money that way. Before we get into week 9, let me hop into the chat. Shout out to you, Jacob. What up, yo? Michelle in the house. Shout out to Michelle. Let's go. Jacob says, Jay, I don't need to be entered in the giveaway because I'm already getting Madden with NCAA. Well, hey, all right, money bags. Tyrone said, Big T in the check-in. Let's go, bro. Let's go. Says, you're the number 1 NFL sports commentator. Michelle, I do thank you for the love and support. I appreciate you. K. Dottie says, hey, Jay, do you remember me, the crazy Eagles fan that used to be in the chat? Do you know how many crazy Eagles fans we get when the season's in play, yo? Listen, I can't say anything about the Eagles without somebody losing their mind. Matter of fact, there is one individual that always pops into my mind when it comes to anything Philly. It could be the Phillies. It could be the 76ers. It could be the Eagles. If I say anything and one of those teams lose, I have to hear about it for the whole week. So I know how you Phillies fans, or you Philly fans operate. So shout out to you, bro. Shout out to Purple in the building, Rich Gang in the house, the family in the house. Let's go. All right. Getting into week 9, this is going to be the rematch. Now, obviously, over the years, we've seen that these kind of situations in divisional games, they'll go back and forth or they'll swap. But for the most part, like I said, once again, has the Bills built up enough chemistry? Is the defense clicking? Is everything working in Sean McDermott's favor going into week 9? And that's going to be, the big question, the big test, because I think there's a lot riding on Josh Allen. I think mentally he understands where he is in his career. I think he understands what he needs to do coming into this season. I think he understands what he needs to do for his own legacy. And, we understand that being in your 7th year, you still are in that window to get a Super Bowl. If you're going to be that legendary superstar quarterback, you want to at least show up. You've got to at least show up and get to the chip and play ball. But with that said, week 9, I mean, it could be a swap. It could be a toss-up. The Bills could take the first one. Miami can come back and get them in the second one. Or it could flip. Miami gets them in the first one. Bills get them in the second one. So I'm just split there. Week 10 against the Rams. What is Matt Stafford going to do moving forward into this season, right? Is he coming down in his career, or is he still playing at that superstar Matt Stafford level? I think he's coming down. And I'm not saying too much because he's still got some heart. He's still got some fight in him. But I do think that this Rams team has changed its whole dynamic from what we used to know them to be. And they don't have that power. With that said, this could be a really, really good game on a Monday night. It's November 11th on ESPN, Monday Night Football. These kind of games always have the feel of something that could be crazy, but then we're all sitting there like, damn, the game's ended and Miami won 7-3. So I will go Miami there, but I think it's going to be a good defensive battle. After that, it's going to be the Raiders, right? Raiders making some good changes. New coach, new quarterback, different kind of team, right? You've got Adams a little bit happy, more happy there, being the changes that they've made, and he's feeling the team morale and the spirit of the Raiders is a little bit better. And I think that goes a long way coming into next season because you're going to need that for this group because they should have a good season considering the talent that they have, considering what they're able to bring to the table and what they were able to do last year towards the end of the season. I think the Raiders could be in the conversation to do some damage. But once again, how are you going to handle Tua if he's on point and he's got everything going for him with Waddle and Hill and the distractions that everything creates and all the opportunities for Miami's offense? Defensively, I think Raiders could put up a fight, but offensively, I think they get smoked. That's just the reality of it. And then, of course, New England again for your divisional rival. I think they'll get smacked. After that, it's going to be Green Bay, Jordan Love. We haven't got into Jordan Love contract yet. I want to get into that, but not tonight. We'll get into that another day. I'm just going to start it off by saying way too much money. I'm not saying that the guy shouldn't have got paid. I'm just saying he got paid way too much money. With that said, Green Bay, Miami, the expectations for Jordan Love are really high, considering what just happened. Obviously, you made it to the postseason, so coming into now, your expectations are at an all-time high. The Green Bay fans are expecting you to not only replicate that, but push it even further. And if you don't make it, then it's going to be a problem. But to be honest, with everything that happened last year, I'm not going to say it's a fluke, but I think Jordan Love is kind of in the same situation that Brock Purdy was in 2 years ago. All right, you showed up to the postseason. You did some good things to get there. Can you replicate it, and can you do it again? And that's going to be the question mark coming into next season. It really is. And I'm not going to sit here and compare Jordan Love to Brock Purdy because it's two different quarterbacks. But I do think Green Bay was very hungry last year. I do think that they're still going to be hungry this year. But you now have a lot more tape on Love in significant scenarios that coaches are definitely going to zone into when it comes to Green Bay. I think that's the truth of it. With that said, Week 13, Miami or Green Bay. I'm torn because if they can get the run game going, if they can get Reed going, if these guys can really, really get the defense working as well, Green Bay could shake some things up, especially being at home. So I'm going to go against my first thought, and I'm going to go with Green Bay in this one. I think they may take it, but we're really, I think, just hoping that Jordan Love is going to keep consistent and play his game moving forward. Next after that is going to be the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, another question mark, right? How is he going to perform coming back off of one of the most significant injuries that anybody could, and especially at his age? I don't think he's going to have that same kind of step. I don't think he's going to still be able to play at his same superstar level, elite level. If he does, chef's kiss. I would love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm going to rock with Miami on that one, especially with it being a divisional game. After that, it's going to be Houston, right? Houston, C.J. Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Collins. These boys are balling. They did really good last year. They went to the postseason. C.J. Stroud looked like he was where he was supposed to be. And then coming into this season, this is going to be another one of those situations where, okay, end of the season, week 15, it's now time to prove yourself. Can you do it again? I think with the additional pieces that C.J. Stroud got, this could become a nightmare for the Miami defense as long as Stephon Diggs isn't being a diva. If Stephon Diggs is being a diva, then I think the problem that is going to come from this is creating issues in the locker room and also creating confusion with C.J. Stroud and who he should throw to and how he should work his game. I think that could be very problematic, but I'm going to give the edge to the Texans on this one, just because I feel like they have a good chance of picking up what they left off last year, and they're going to be a little bit more hungry for it. After that, it's going to be the 49ers, Brock Purdy and company. Obviously, we know the situation with Ayuk, but, I mean, the spirit of the 49ers and this team and what they're able to do, it's a very competitive offense. It's a very competitive defense, very strong on both sides of the field. Even if you take away Ayuk, you put somebody else there, Brock Purdy is going to get the ball to him. So, you know, I'm not saying that anyone could replace Ayuk because he was an asset to the team. But if you can get somebody quality in there with Ayuk leaving, then, yeah, I think it'll definitely make sense if he does leave. But with that said, I got to go 49ers on this just because they're a different animal right now. And until somebody can prove me wrong or until this team can get beat at that level to prove me wrong, 49ers are just at a different level. Next after that's going to be the Browns, right? Deshaun Watson, this team, an amazing defense. They went to the postseason last year. Now, obviously, I can't give the credit to Deshaun Watson for that because that was Joey. That was Joe Flacco. But with that said, we did see a little bit of Deshaun Watson before he went out. We are expecting him to show us why he got paid all this money this year, though. So you need to come out on that field. You need to show these Browns fans that, yes, you are worth this amount of money. And, yes, you still have the talent to lead this team in a better situation than what Joe Flacco did because he came off the couch. We understand you were injured, but Joe Flacco came off the couch and took this team to the playoffs. You need to replicate that. I do think that Deshaun Watson is going to come into this with a different mindset, a different attitude. Hopefully he can build on, this momentum that the Browns does have and come into, next season with a different frame of mind, ready to ball out. Week 17, these games are going to be very significant because obviously it's going to matter for seeding and all that kind of stuff. So this could be a very good one. But defensively, I have to give the edge to the Browns just because they had one of the best defenses last year. And if this Browns team is able to get to Tua and do business, that can be a real nightmare for the Miami offense. On the flip side, you will need Deshaun Watson to score because Miami defense is going to do work as well. And you don't want to keep Miami in it long. You want to try to get Miami done as early as possible and kind of demoralize them so they don't come back in the end with some crazy, ridiculous Tyreek Hill play. You know how it goes. I am going to go Browns on that one, though, for Week 17. Week 18, the Jets, once again, are they going to split? Aaron Rodgers is the biggest question mark for me right now. So, there you go. There you go. So, that is Miami. As far as the schedule, it's not easy. You got the Jags, starting off with the Jags, then you got the Bills. You got a good Seahawks team. Titans, decent. New England, I mean, you might as well just call that an exhibition game. Then you're going to rest, right? Now you're facing Richardson. Then it's going to be Murray. Then you're back to the Bills, then the Rams. You know, when you look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games here, this stretch between week 7 and week 11 is definitely more challenging than what you may think. Then obviously you play New England. Then after that, you've got Green Bay, Jets, Houston, 49ers, Browns. So then after New England, week 13 through 17, very challenging again. And then obviously you got the Jets. So yeah, this could be very tough for Miami if they don't have everything figured out. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Can they pull it off? If I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say it's about 65% chance they can pull it off. Because you're thinking that they did everything they needed to do last season. Tua got paid. Tua has displayed the talent. He's displayed the focus. He loves the game. He's put his heart and his sweat into it. So, yeah, I do think they could have a good season. But I think if you do have a great season, you've been playing some legendary football. You've been playing some legendary football. So there you go. All right. As far as where are we at here? Next on to the Jags, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get there, shout out to Daniel. Says the Washington Redskins Commanders all day. Commanders got a whole new team, group of people, and team. Daniel says, but can we all agree it won't be Cowboys? Yeah. Tyrone says, gangrene. Yeah, man. A-Last, go Bills. Let's go. Shout out to Christopher Jones for liking the Facebook stream. Thanks a lot, Christopher Jones. I appreciate you. So, yeah, next is going to be the Jags. Ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be the Jags. Now, this is another one, right? This is another team that we not only know can show up and have big moments, but they can also completely vanish, and Trevor Lawrence can freeze up, and then you're left sitting there shaking your head because of all this talent on the team and what they've been able to do, what they've been able to display over the last couple years. And we have thought Trevor Lawrence was the guy. We have thought that Trevor Lawrence was the individual to get this team to the next level. We have seen the Jags make some improvements. We have seen Trevor Lawrence become into his own. And so now I would think this would be the year where, you know, if Trevor Lawrence is going to be that guy, he can actually step out on the field and get the job done. So getting into the stats, as far as Lawrence, he had 4,016 yards. Etienne had 1,008 yards in the rushing. Ridley had 1,016 yards. Alokin had 173 tackles, and Williams had 4 interceptions. As far as Bigsby, he was 50 carries as of 132 yards, 2.6 on the average. So, I mean, I would like to see more out of Tank. I know that you've got him behind ATN, but I would like to see, you know, kind of a dual combo between those two. I definitely think it'd be very beneficial if they used him a little bit more and put him in the rotation. Obviously, we know as far as, you know, the receiver group's going to change a little bit. But for, you know, last year, Ridley had 1,016 yards. Ingram had 963. Kirk had 787. So, you know, Jones had 321. From a wide receiver point of view, you had all the pieces. You had everything that you needed to go out there and get the job done. And unfortunately, Lawrence was just unable to really make it happen. He had 370 completions of 564 attempts, 65.6% completion percentage. He averaged 7.1. He had 21 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and 35 sacks. That is not the kind of production that you want from a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. So hopefully this year, he can come back and work on that. He can come back and be better because that's what the Jags need, and that's going to be what's required for them to actually get on that field and win. Getting into the schedule, right? Let's go ahead and break this one down. All right. So we got into Miami, which is the Jags week 1. We already discussed that. As far as with Miami, like I said, I am taking Miami because I'm going to give them the edge competitively. And, they're going to be in Miami. Miami's a different animal. The Dolphins play with a lot of aggression. They play fierce. Everything just gels for the Dolphins when they're at home. So I definitely think that, the Jags could be in trouble. But, the Florida boys, they go at it. It could be a fight for sure. But I do have the edge for Miami. After that is going to be Cleveland, the Browns, right? Now, this could be a good one. Both, have good defenses. The Jags, the Browns actually have one of the best. So this could be one of those games where, it's a dogfight for sure. But to me, in this game, it's going to be who has the heart, who has the most fight. And to be honest, I think this Cleveland team is probably just a little bit more. But the question is going to be whether or not Deshaun Watson is all there. Based on that, if Deshaun's clicking, yeah, I'm giving the edge to the Browns. If Deshaun's not playing at the level that we need him to, then yeah, I think that the Jags will just walk all over him. But with that said, I'm going to take the Browns for week 2. Week 3 against the Bills. We know that the Jags have had the Bills number. And it's kind of crazy because there'll be certain situations where you kind of just have a bad feeling. Bills, Jags, especially in the overseas situation, it's kind of like, okay, what are we expecting out of these Bills and what are we expecting out of these Jags? And then it turns into this super low scoring game. And the Bills end up losing because of some crazy coaching situation. Jags versus Bills is a 50-50 for me. Even though the Bills are at home, Highmark Stadium gets crazy. But we know how the Jags work. And if you sleep on them, they will end up finding a way to win. But this will be a Monday night game against the Bills. All eyes on Allen and Lawrence. This is one of those games on a Monday night that could be history in the making. We'll have to see. But I'm going my Bills on this one. Not only do the Bills play their heart out in Highmark Stadium, but you put Josh Allen with all eyes on him on a Monday night against a team like the Jags at Highmark Stadium, it's going to be lights out. I'm rocking with the Bills at home for week 3. Week 4, they'll go against the Texans, Houston Texans. Like I said, we talked about Stroud and company, everything they've done over there. I'm going to rock with the Texans. I do think that there's a lot of talent with the Texans. I do think that they're riding off of huge momentum from last season. Yes, they went to the postseason. Yes, they did lose. But to be honest, I don't think you could ask for any other thing out of C.J. Stroud and this squad. Except for, hey, this was your first year and you just didn't have the experience to get to the next level. Well, guess what? Now this is you getting to the next level. You come into this season, you're ready to go. I do think that, the Texans will give the Jags some problems, especially with the Jags going to Houston. So I'm going to take the Texans there. After that, week 5, it's going to be the Colts. Once again, Anthony Richardson is my question mark. If he's back, he's physically ready, he's mentally ready. I do think that the Colts could be an issue for the Jags as well. Defensively, that's what it's basically going to boil down to. I'm hoping that Lawrence is ready to go. I'm hoping that Lawrence is, he's got over his injury himself, because it's kind of like the same situation. You've got Lawrence coming back from an injury. You've got Richardson coming back from an injury. who's going to play safer. That's basically what it's about. But from a point of talent, yeah, this is Jags. From a point of talent, this is Jags. I just don't see Anthony Richardson really being able to put up much against this Jags defense as well, considering that we're just not sure how he's going to be playing at his full potential. So, yeah, going Jags there. Week 6, this is going to be an international game against the Bears, which Caleb Williams and company, week 6. This could be a really good one. Now, normally when the Bears play, we're not really even scratching our head. We almost know what's going to happen unless something else crazy happens. But I will say, as far as with Caleb Williams, it's a question mark because we know what he's done with USC. We know that he was the number 1 draft pick, but how is that going to translate over into the NFL, this being your first season as a rookie? And, you know, are you going to be able to display those Superman moments that you had on an actual real game time NFL field? So, yeah, I think with this one, I got to go Jags just because they love being overseas for some reason, and they're very difficult to beat overseas. I don't know if it's the time. I don't know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence, but he finds a way to win overseas at 9:30 in the morning. So, yeah, I think it's a safe bet. After that, they've got New England overseas as well at 9:30 a.m., so you know my answer to that. But Green Bay, this is a good one. Jordan Love, we just talked about it. Will Jordan Love actually continue on and keep Green Bay's momentum? Because he's kind of in the same situation that C.J. Stroud is in, right? This new class of new quarterbacks coming in and taking the reins of these teams. Can they keep things going? And that's kind of where Jordan Love is. And this could be a strong, very good battle between the Jags and Green Bay. I will give the edge on this one to Trevor Lawrence and company because they do have a little bit more talent than Green Bay. But if this young Green Bay team gets going and Jordan Love finds that momentum and can really get this team hyped up and ready to go, it could be a long night for the Jags. But I will lean, or long day for the Jags. I could lean towards him, though, as far as considering the talent. Shout out to Timothy Jordan for liking the stream. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. Cat Daddy, what up, man? What's going on with you? As for Philly, right? We've been talking about Philly and Jalen Hurts. Now, this individual who I have became to scratch my head. It's when I think about the Eagles, I go like this sometimes. And that's not even like a joke, like a ha-ha moment. I really sit there and I go like this sometimes because you start off so strong last year and then you just completely bomb. And I called it. It was one of the worst predictions I made last year. I said that the Eagles would start off strong and then they'd lose 4 in a row. And I said that in week 5. And everybody was so mad at me and so upset. And then it happened. And then the Eagles had just vanished. And you could blame it on sicknesses. You could blame it on this. You could blame it on that. When you play at an elite level, you are expected to go out there and perform and execute. And if you don't do it, then obviously you weren't the individual for the job. So if you were sick enough to where you couldn't get the job done, sit on down, bring the secondaries in, and then let them take the L. I'd rather you do that than you go out there and you try to win and you don't win and then you blame it on because you were sick. I think that's stupid. I don't like it. If you're out on that field, take the loss, take it like a man, move on from it and learn from it. But don't try to pin it on the fact that you were sick or you didn't feel good or you had bad sushi or your baby mama mad at you. You go out there, you step out on that field, you play ball, you go to win. And if you're not feeling up to it, then you put in your second string, and they go out there and they try to do what they can do. So unfortunately, I'm not sure that the Eagles are going to be what we've known them to be going into next season. And, this could be one of those games where Eagles fans are highly upset because of Trevor Lawrence going into Philly and dog walking their ass. I said it. That's right, I said it. After that, it's going to be the Vikings. So they're going to be the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold. I did see some tape on J.J. McCarthy. They said that he's doing, fairly well. Do we trust Sam Darnold with these Vikings? Is Justin Jefferson going to be able to link up with him the same way that he was with Kirk Cousins? The same thing with, J.J. McCarthy. He's a rookie. He's new. I definitely do think we'll probably see both of them have their moments. But there's a shadow over the Vikings right now. I'd like to see what they're going to do and, get into my week 9 or my week 10 predictions after week 9 and have a better idea. But for right now, I just can't tell you that I trust Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy yet to say that the Vikings would have a win over the Jags, considering the experience factor. So I got to go Jags for week 10. Week 11, Detroit. I like the Lions. I like Jared Goff. I like Gibbs, Montgomery, everything that the Lions have going on. The defense, Dan Campbell's crazy ass making ridiculous decisions on 4th down. I love it because it raises my blood pressure for you Lions fans. But with that said, the firepower and everything that comes with the Detroit Lions is unmatched. I think they're in another position, kind of just like the 49ers and Dallas. And, I think the Lions are going to come into this year still riding on that momentum. And it's going to be tough for the Jags. But if they can beat Detroit, I think that says more about the Jags than it does Detroit, because that would mean the Jags absolutely mean business if they can beat Detroit in Detroit. But I got to go with the Lions on this one just because of the firepower. So I'm going Lions. But if the Jags can beat them, then we know the Jags mean business. After that, it's going to be week 12, bye week. Week 13, Texans. We've talked about the Texans, C.J. Stroud and company. I think Stroud has a lot of firepower. Going against the Jags, I do think this is going to be one of those situations where obviously best team wins, but who makes the least amount of mistakes? And C.J. Stroud, he's been playing some mistake-free football. Trevor Lawrence, we know he can get out there and do what he does, but he'll get frazzled. He'll get sacked. We've seen it plenty of times. That offensive line is a big problem. I'm leaning and I'm giving the edge to the Texans on this one for week 13. Week 14, I'll give it to the Jags. Notoriously over the years, we know that the Jags has had the Titans number. Week 15 against the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. That's everybody's question when it comes to the Jets. What the hell is Aaron Rodgers going to do? This could be a toss-up 50-50 for me, depending on how Aaron Rodgers is doing. Raiders, I can see the Raiders actually being a problem for the Jags, considering the defense punishing, Trevor back there. It could be a problem. You in Vegas. Are you going to put all the chips on the table, or, is the house going to win? I think the Raiders could cause a real issue with these Jags, and Lawrence may have some trouble with the defense, so I'm going to lean more towards Vegas there. And then week 17, they'll go against the Titans for a nice little rematch. And then week 18, a rematch against the Colts, and that is your Jaguars 2024 schedule. For the most part, this is another one that is very challenging. If the Jags are going to do anything this year, they're going to have to put in some work. You've got the Dolphins. Week 1, you've got the Browns, the Bills, the Texans, Colts. Week 1 through 5, I hope you're playing your heart out because your work is cut out for you. Then 6, you've got Caleb Williams. But hey, for all we know, Caleb Williams could come out and be that individual And we're all sitting there like, oh, okay, this Bears team is different. I'm throwing out the hypothetical. Shout out to you, Immortal. But, hey, let's just say that it's not that. And let's say that this is easy because we know how the Jags do overseas. You also got, back-to-back game there with New England. So week 6 and 7 is kind of like a breather from the super challenging teams. But then you're right back at it with Green Bay, right? And, yes, I talk my shit about Philly. But at the same time, if Philly is clicking and if Philly is working at the level that we know they should, not what they can, what they should, then, yeah, Philly can definitely cause some trouble with the Jags. And then, the Vikings and the Lions, it can be a little tough. Then you're right back to the Texans, and then you've got maybe a lesser challenging run with the Titans, the Jets, potentially the Raiders, and then the Titans again and the Colts. So basically between week 1 through week 11, these Jags are going to have to do some amazing work if they're going to make it to the postseason. Very simple. Very simple. Cat Daddy, what up, yo? What's going on with you? Gardaki says, well, if it isn't the Daniel Jones of YouTube, stop it. I was going to make a joke, but I ain't going to do it. I'm going to stay humble. Let me stay humble. Didn't they give Daniel Jones $160 million? If I'm Daniel Jones, I'll be Daniel Jones. I get the bag. All right, let's go ahead and get into these Chargers, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into these Chargers. Texans barely made the playoffs last year. Before we get into the Chargers, let me address this. See, when you say things like barely or, they made it but, or they almost didn't make it, the point is they made it. It doesn't matter if they made it by a half a point, 1 point, 3 points. Doesn't matter if the defense caught an interception to score, take them there. They made it to the playoffs. And regardless of what you want to hate on, okay, regardless of what you want to hate on, the reality is the Texans made it there and C.J. Stroud balled out. He put the league on notice. And you can't discredit C.J. Stroud and everything that he did with this team because a lot of people didn't even expect it. You can't tell me that you respect Joe Flacco getting to the postseason and you don't respect C.J. Stroud getting to the postseason. Because if you can, then what the hell are we talking about? I'll wait. No further questions. All right, let's get to these Chargers, y'all. Let's get to these Chargers. Justin Herbert. We know that he's went through his changes, and this team has changed things around, and he's kind of been like the redheaded stepchild of the best quarterbacks in the league. So why hasn't this Chargers team been able to really get anything going, and why hasn't this Chargers team been able to make it to the postseason and show everybody that they do mean business? Well, let's get into these stats, and let's talk about it. As far as Justin Herbert, 3,134 yards. Eckler had 628 rushing yards. Keenan Allen, 1,243 on the receiving. James had 125 tackles, and Gilman had 2 interceptions. As far as Herbert, he was 297 of 456. He played 13 games. Obviously, we know that he was injured. So, sure, at some point, you have to look at his stats as skewed, and you really can't blame the success on or the failures on him specifically because when he did play, he did ball out. He had 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He was sacked 29 times, though. And then you basically had Easton Stick. I don't know why. His name is just hilarious to me. Easton Stick basically come in for him. He had 111 completions, 174 attempts, 63.8 on the completion percentage. He had 1,129 yards. His average was 6.5. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he was sacked 14 times. What? Yeah. On the rushing side, you had Eckler, 179 carries, 628 yards. Kelly had 107, 405. And here's my problem with this. You guys are going to the air so much that Eckler only has 628 yards. And I get it, right? He's got 5 touchdowns. His average is 3.5. He did have 3 fumbles. So, all right, let's put the ball in Kelly's hand, right? Let's put the ball in Kelly's hand. He had a better average. He had 2 less fumbles. But, and he had 2 touchdowns on less production. So let's swap him out and, put Kelly to work. I don't know. Maybe this could be a coaching issue, and that's probably why, the Chargers had to make the changes that they did. But, we're obviously talking about everything in hindsight and coming into next season. But the problem is, these are some of the problems that the Chargers had on why they couldn't be successful as they could have been. On the receiving side, obviously you're feeding Allen. He had 108 receptions on 150 targets. Listen, I get that, you've got to feed your quarterback, or your quarterback's got to feed this man. But let's get Palmer involved more. Let's get Johnson involved more, right? Let's get the tight end involved more. 51 of 70, 411 yards. What are we doing? Right? What are we doing? So I think, at the end of the day, you have these specific issues and you have these, specific problems for the Chargers, and that's not helping them. That's hindering them from getting over that hump. The injuries with Herbert, the coaching was absolutely terrible. And so that's why you get 2023. There you go. But let's get into 24. Well, before we do that, we'll get into the depth chart. Right? So coming into this season, obviously Herbert's starting, coming back from the injury, should be ready to go. On the running, you've got Gus Edwards, who I do think will do great coming over from the Ravens there. Nice little, J.K. Dobbins as well. Nice little mix there that you got. I do think those two can be assets to this Chargers team. After that, for your wide receivers, you got Joshua Palmer, Ladd McConkey coming over. I like McConkey in college. The kid can ball out. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. You also got DJ Clark, who has been great as well. Tight end is Will Disley. Fullback has been Mason, Rashawn Slater. For your offensive line, Zion Johnson, Bradley Boozman, Jamari Salyer, and Joe Alt. So, yeah, there's a lot of changes, and there's, a lot of differences that you will see from this team, from this Chargers team. But for the most part, I do think that everything, as far as the changes that Los Angeles has made, will have them ready for next season. It'll kind of be a fresh start, which is good, not only for the fans, but for the team and the organization. And maybe they can get something going. Maybe they can surprise us, because it's going to be, Herbert coming back and ready to go with a whole new squad. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into the schedule. 2024 Chargers, ladies and gentlemen, what are they going to do? Well, week 1, they've got the Raiders. We know that these kind of games have, especially week 1, have the tendency to be nail biters, no matter what. It's week 1. Everyone's got the jitters. Everyone, still shaking the rust off. So you're going to see, who's ready to go, who's actually ready to step up and truly ball out come week 1. It sets the tone. It sets the standard. With that said, this will be a test as far as whether or not Justin Herbert's really ready to go against a solid defense and the Raiders. And on the flip side, obviously, you've got, a decent defense from the Chargers, but they have a tendency of allowing teams not only to put up a bunch of touchdowns, but even stay close to the point where if the Chargers make one mistake, well, you know what's going to happen. But with that said, I think from a talent point of view, they're about even. So this could be a 50-50 for me. I mean, if I look I haven't seen these now, but if I pull up the odds, I'm assuming that these odds are fairly close, and I'm thinking that it's going to be about a field goal as far as the spread. And what do you know? You can't make it up. You can't make it up. Look at that. The spread is 3.5. The over-under is 43.5. So that tells you right then and there it's going to be a high-scoring game because both teams, it's going to be one of those. We're just going to go back and forth. Who's going to make the first mistake? The money line is going to be plus 150 for the Raiders and minus 175 for the Chargers. So yeah, like I said, the Chargers are favored, but it's pretty much even, and that's why the spread is 3.5. So with that said, I think I will give the favor to the Chargers, just like Vegas, because you do have Justin Herbert. He is going to go out there and move that ball a lot, and you don't really know what to expect from the Raiders offense coming into week 1. That's the reality of it. Week 2, Panthers, Bryce Young. I have such an issue with this Panthers team. A lot of fans were mad at me about it. A lot of fans were upset at me about, whether or not I wasn't taking Bryce Young serious because I'm talking about his height and his ability to, read the defenses and things like that. Listen, I didn't draft the man. And I'm very sure if you guys could have a 6'4", 6'5" quarterback out there, 230, 240 that could read the defense, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But unfortunately, you don't. You have Bryce Young, and I don't believe that he's the individual that's going to get the job done for the Panthers. You may believe in him. He may change things around, but I don't think he's a Drew Brees, because that's what you're expecting this kid to be in this kind of league right now. The Panthers totally dropped the ball in the trade, and I'm just being or in the draft, and I'm just being completely real about it. Don't fight with me, fight with your mama. Obviously, I'm going Chargers there for week 2. Week 3, Pittsburgh. Now this could shape up to be something very, very special. It's the Chargers, it's the Steelers, it's Justin Herbert, it's Russell Wilson most likely. This could be a very good game. You're in Pittsburgh. Being in Pittsburgh is something special. I've actually been to Pittsburgh games. It gets crazy. The atmosphere right now for the Steelers is, I think, decent because things are going to be new. Things are going to be fresh. You've got some new pieces. The defense is stepping up. There's going to be a lot in favor of the Steelers here, but also, once again, I think this is another situation where you have a game that could potentially be high scoring and the spread is close. We'll do it one more time. Do we got spreads for this yet? They don't even have it yet. Wait, hold on. Yeah, they don't have it. That's funny. So yeah, they don't have it up. But I mean, to me, I think this would be another one where it probably comes down to a field goal. Over-unders right around 40, somewhere around there. Just because Russell Wilson, Steelers, new squad, Mike Tomlin's going to utilize him. He's going to hone into those strengths, and he's going to make Russell Wilson really, really dive into those weaknesses. So this could be very good. With that said, this is kind of like the vet who's no longer in his prime but has the will to win versus, superstar Justin Herbert. That's how I see it. I'm going to lean towards Herbert and company, though. I think this younger team is going to give the Steelers some problems. But Mike Tomlin, you can't count him out. That's why I'm torn in this one. But I'm going to ride with the Chargers. I think there's a lot going on there that's going to benefit them, even being in Pittsburgh. All right, week 4. Kansas City Chiefs. Now, y'all know. Y'all know how this works, especially with with Kansas City and these Chargers. We've seen some of the best games and some of the worst games from Herbert in these kind of situations. And unfortunately, you're going up against the Super Bowl champions in Kansas City. And KC's got some significant pieces. I know you people have been hating on Xavier Worthy that don't appreciate the kid because speed doesn't matter. You got to catch the ball. You got to run the routes. Well, listen, I've seen the tape. I've been watching Worthy. He's been catching the ball. He's been running his routes. He looks like he may potentially be a problem. Now, obviously, we haven't seen any game time yet, but if he can translate what we're seeing now in training camp to the field, and Patrick Mahomes is able to really use another tool in his tool belt, a lot of people are going to be complaining. A lot of you are going to be complaining. So right there, you got that. That's one piece of the puzzle that the Chargers defense will have to deal with. Then let's bring in Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. Now, you probably haven't heard much from Hollywood lately, but guess what? You will be hearing the hell out of his name because Patrick Mahomes is going to be utilizing him. Because guess what? We know that Travis Kelce is a hell of a tight end, but he's going to slow down a little bit, right? He's been getting banged up. I think he's getting into his Gronk territory. You know what I'm saying. So, they're game planning now to utilize these two individuals. But all right, you block those two up. You lock those two down. All right, then we're just going to go back to the well. And Kelsey's going to make you pay every time. This is going to be a nightmare. Just those three individuals. I haven't mentioned Pacheco. I haven't mentioned Rice. I haven't mentioned Watson. I haven't mentioned Gray. And as much as I hate to say it, Kansas City is going to be a problem. So, yeah, I'm going Kansas City week 4. Week 5, the bye week. Week 6, Denver. What are we doing? What are we doing, Denver? Jared Stidham, Bo Nix, Zach Wilson. Zach still your mama Wilson? I used to like Sean Payton. I don't know what happened to him. Something just changed, and unfortunately, he's not the individual that I think can get this team together and get this franchise going. I think Denver is probably going to have the worst year that we've seen out of any team in a while. But I'm going to take the Chargers there. After that, it's going to be the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, he may step up this year. Like I said, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. We know that when Kyler Murray is clicking, the team morale is different. The defense is stepping up. The Cardinals change things around. It's almost like a light switch. All right, Kyler's ready to play. Well, let's go out there and win some games. Kyler's not ready to play. All right, well, forget it. We'll just have another bad season. But if Kyler's clicking, it's going to be a dogfight. It'll be a shootout. This will be another shootout for sure. Monday night, 9 p.m. Let's see what the odds for this one is. And we don't have any. There you go. We don't have any. So for this one, I'd probably say it's another one where, this could probably be a touchdown, 7-point spread. You're in Arizona, Cardinals at home. I'm probably going to go Chargers on this one by the touchdown. Week 7. Week 8, New Orleans. I don't know what you guys believe in regards to the Saints right now. I don't even think you know what the Saints are going to do. Derek Carr is not it. Alvin Kamara is wasting his talent away. Michael Thomas, hey, just keep giving me a check. I'll sit on the bench. What do you expect? I think that the best thing that the Saints have had over the years is their defense. And then obviously, when Jameis was there was a little ray of hope. But unfortunately, he was not the quarterback that could be a leader to take that team to the promised land. Unfortunately, I think that the Saints need to just completely rebuild from the ground up. Get rid of everybody, start over, go from there. With that said, I'm going to take the Chargers. Week 9, Cleveland Browns. I think this would be a good one. Deshaun Watson, this Browns defense. Herbert can be tricky, though. Herbert can definitely be tricky. If he gets that deep ball going, then, yeah, it could be a nightmare because the Browns are really good on the run. As far as the deep ball, they did have some trouble, and Justin Herbert throws that deep ball. So this could be one of those situations where it does turn into a battle going both ways. But for the most part, I think being in Cleveland, you're going to run into some roadblocks there. I'm going to take Cleveland week 9. Week 10 against the Titans. We've been talking about Will Levis, this squad, the changes there. We got to get more tape on Levis and see if he's actually capable of running this team, taking over the helm. And by week 10, we should have, enough tape to make these proper decisions. But right now, just from looking on paper, I got to go ahead and take the Chargers there. Week 11 against the Bengals. My big thing with Joe Burrow, it's not the hair, right? It's not the blonde hair. It's the fact of I don't really know if he is going to be able to work through all these injuries. Joe Burrow has a bunch of injuries that will not only affect him mentally, but I do think it's going to affect his ability and how he plays, right? You've got the wrist injury. You've got the calf injury on your left, and then you've got another injury to your leg on your right leg. So, this kind of stuff adds up. And if you're a quarterback and you're not only worth this amount of money, but you want to protect your body, you don't want to get hit. You want to be in the frame of mind where I have to get rid of this ball as fast as I can, or let's get the run going so I'm not getting destroyed out here. And that's kind of what's worrying me about the Cincinnati team. Is Joe Burrow going to be playing at his level, or is he going to be playing at the, hey, I don't want to get hit, let me hurry up and get rid of the ball? And, I mean, based on that, I don't want to sit here and say that the Chargers will just absolutely demolish the Bengals, but I do think you give the edge to the Chargers based on that because we don't know what to expect from Joe anymore. We don't. So we'll just have to see. But for right now, I'm going Chargers on week 11. Week 12, Baltimore, Monday night. It's going to be a game. It's going to be a game. I'm excited to see this one. Monday Night Football. It's on the 25th, November 25th. Nothing like the holidays. So, yeah, I think this will be a good one. I think with Baltimore, you've got Jackson, you've got Henry. That's going to be a nightmare for defenses. Lamar's got his key pieces back as far as from a passing point of view. Chargers are going to be in trouble on this one, so I'm going to give Baltimore that one for week 12. Week 13, Kirk Cousins, ATL. I think this is 50-50 here. I'm not going to say that Cousins is Justin Herbert, but what I will say is Atlanta and the Chargers are, I think, kind of in the same realm team-wise. If you had to put them in tiers, Chargers and Atlanta would be in the same tier. So I do think that'll be a dogfight. Atlanta at home, I'm probably going to rock with Atlanta. I think they'll put up a good fight. The defense is going to be strong there. So I'll take Atlanta week 13. Week 14, Chargers go against KC again in Arrowhead. I got to rock with the Super Bowl champions. Week 15, they'll go against Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield and company. He just signed another contract, so he'll be with this team trying to move forward. I think this would be a good one. Baker Mayfield, he's, like I said, he's another one. He's on and off, but he's got that heart. That's why I respect him. Tampa Bay, I don't see it. I could be completely wrong. We know how these things work. Everyone's sitting there like, damn, Chargers lost to Tampa Bay because Baker Mayfield did something crazy at the last minute. It's totally possible. But on paper, I got to rock with the Chargers. Week 16 against Denver again. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Sean Payton and what's going on with Denver right now. I think they're going to have a tough year. I'm going with the Chargers for week 16. Week 17, just throw New England away right now. I'm going to take Chargers week 18. They'll wrap it up with Vegas, who they started with. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. That is your 2024 Chargers schedule. And, there's going to be a lot of crazy football this year. There's going to be a lot of crazy football this year. I'm excited for it. We will be streaming Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday all day like we always do. So make sure you guys lock it in. And other than that, we've got some more NCAA football coming up. We'll get started with that. We're still working on our 32 and 31. The next 4 days, I'll be covering 4 teams a night, and that'll wrap up all 32 teams that we've done in the month of July. And then we are getting over to preseason and Madden. Football is back. Football is back. Listen, I love it, but I'm almost exhausted thinking about it. Preseason, Madden, then we right into the NFL. Listen, I'm going to be giving you guys so much football content. You going to get sick of me or you going to get sick of football. You ain't going to get sick of me or sick of football. We know how you are. We going to be on it every day, y'all, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Tactical, what up, man? What's going on with you? Todd Reed says, I got the Who Dat Blues. Listen, it's I think it's going to be a tough year. I think it's going to be a tough year for the Saints. You know, I do respect Derek Carr, but I just feel like when he left the Raiders, he kind of just abandoned his legacy, and then kind of just let the folks down in New Orleans instead of figuring things out. And I get it. You know, the Raiders wasn't treating Derek Carr the way that he wanted to be treated. But I think at the same time, you weren't treated the way that you wanted to be treated because you weren't performing how you were expected to. So I think it goes hand in hand. So, yeah. There you go. Tactical says, when do you cover the Titans, Jay? I don't want to miss your input. I'll be covering the Titans on the 31st. And that will wrap everything up, my friend. Cat Daddy, shout out to you, bro. Yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, shout out to the Wrench Gang. Shout out to the family, all the listeners, all the watchers. I do appreciate all of you. Always a great stream. Always a great time. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We will see you all tomorrow night as we finish up our 32 and 31, another 4 teams. So make sure you lock it in as we prepare for preseason. We're almost here. We got college football coming. We got NFL preseason coming. I'm ready. It's going to be a good time. Make sure you guys lock it in. And in the meantime, have yourself a great evening. Have yourself a great night. And enjoy your work week. I wish you all the best. Have a good night. Shout out to you, Tactical. Yeah, man. We'll chop it up, bro. I got to get some rest. It's been a long day. Peace out, y'all.